The Finance Minister recently released the second quarter update, and he painted a rosy picture of Alberta, reporting higher than budgeted surplus. But while the energy sector benefits from oil averaging $75 a barrel, the average Albertan does not. The real purchasing power for Alberta workers has fallen 10% in the last decade, as Alberta experienced the highest inflation in the country. How can the minister ignore the fact that most Albertans are struggling to pay for groceries while they seek this now elusive Alberta advantage?
The Honourable Minister of Finance, the President of Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, I was pleased to give the second quarter announcement. I wouldn't say that I painted it as rosy. The situation has improved for Alberta in this fiscal year, mostly due to the sensitivities around the price of oil. We're still slightly above our forecasted 74 for year to date, but everyone's seen where oil's been since September. But it's largely due to a stable and growing economy, a narrower light-heavy differential, and the fact that we've been able to stay within our contingency while making big spends in health, education, and social services.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Foothills.
Given that some 250,000 public sector workers are negotiating contracts while the cost of housing, utilities, and auto insurance has skyrocketed, given that this government has suppressed public sector and low-wage workers since 2019, including refusing to raise the minimum wage with the cost of living, and given that wages in Alberta used to be 17% more than the national average, but today we lead by only 3%, how can this government be dragging their feet, meddling in contract negotiations with doctors, nurses, teachers, and more?
The Honourable the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I would think the opposition party would know, with their close ties to the labour movement, that we certainly don't meddle in public negotiations. In fact, we don't discuss them. That's left at the tables, and I'm sure we'll reach a fair deal with all big six unions at some point. I think everybody in this chamber should hope for that. But I would say what Q2 represents is it's a better position at a moment in time in this fiscal year. And we're very concerned about what Budget 25 means. Everyone's seen the price of oil, and all of the pressures that the member just noted, we feel too on this side of the House.
The Honourable Member.
So given that the minister is recognizing that things look good now, but we need to be cautious about next year, and that the minister has said the government would struggle to balance the budget if oil was below $70, and many analysts are forecasting that very outcome, what services to Albertans is the minister prepared to cut in the next budget? Those promised new schools, along with their elusive tax cut, or are you going to balance the budget by cutting critical social services to Alberta's most vulnerable?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the beauty of the fiscal framework and why it's so important that we stick to it in these years, in these good years, when you're in a surplus position in Q2, is because it prepares you for the years that you can't. Now, I certainly hope that the circumstances are great for the province in next year and in the out years that follow, but if they aren't, what it allows us to do is not overreact and need to cut our way out of it. It means that we may have to run a deficit here and there, but it means that we need to manage the surpluses accordingly. That's what takes us off the roller coaster.